Hi, friends. How's Derek here? I was talking to people. Here's why you'll never have super strength. Well, because you're never going to be exposed to that much gamma radiation, is one reason. I'm tired. I don't have any Adderall. I didn't really sleep that well last night. But our arrangement here now is much more conducive to success than the previous arrangement. Which is to say, here I am outside live streaming. I'm to sleep. In the master bedroom. So we're sleeping in there now, in my mom's former room. At least for the next couple of months. And was asking a lot of any two people. Hi, Lobo Road. Like, it was a challenging arrangement because there's not that much space, and obviously, if I get up before Rachel does, and I want to live stream or something, and she's still sleeping, that's a problem. There's not a problem here now because my mom is in the nursing home, and not only that, but we can't even like go visit her or anything. We are locked down, and my dad just doesn't like that to sleep in that bedroom. He prefers to sleep in my old room. You're in quarantine 7 days, COVID-19. I mean, I think I probably already have it. I would like to get tested, but I guess that's not possible at the moment. I think I already have it because I've had this cold thing for a stretch time now, and it's definitely impacting my breathing somewhat. And that supposedly is the big problem with COVID-19 is that it's like essentially SARS light. that it affects your respiratory system badly. Regardless, I'm fine, and if I don't have it, COVID-19, and I do get it, I'm still going to be fine. But here's the deal about the virus that people don't seem to get is this approach to dealing with it is killing shit tons of businesses. I'm lucky because nationals, no states. So I'm done working with Jeffrey on debate for the year for sure. Now, interestingly, that should be the end of my job for the rest of the year, basically. I should be out of work now. But I'm not out of work now. And the reason is because not only did they cancel the end of year debate tournaments and everything, they canceled school. So I'm going to meet with them remotely in an hour or 2 hours. And they want me to teach like English and shit. I don't want to do that. And I'm accustomed to getting money from that source, you know. Regardless, I'm kind of happy about it. It's meant to be because I don't know. The universe is prioritizing my considerations higher than it ought to by any reasonable standard. So I don't know what's going on with that, but the slabs have got something in mind, which is at least part of the reason why they're liberating me from responsibilities and such. I was struck by how thoroughly the Slavs made sure that Rachel and I were put back together. As soon as Rachel got here, we found the missing cat, took her to the vet. Cost $750, but the cat's gonna be okay. I don't have a lot of vision or focus at the moment in terms of what I want to talk about or anything. I need a couple of more full days of sleep to recover from the last stretch of Adderall. His last big impact. So I have my Rachel Bobachel here, and we're going to need to sort of settle into a new modality of SI chill. Basically, the whole world is kind of locked down right now, doing nothing of any particular importance. I used to work for a school called Kudos College of Youth Leadership, which was a debate school it's a private debate school, just a competition debate. And every year we'd set up packages for the end of the year tournaments for TOC or nationals or whatever. And parents would pay a price for a package that included coaching and the trip and the competition and everything. Well, what are schools like that going to do now? They've expected that in the fourth quarter of the business or whatever, that this is their revenue stream and this is how they're going to operate. And nope. Now, on the other hand, it might be the case that these private schools that have summer sessions and stuff are going to do better this year because of the ending of school early. But I don't know. It's not like I have a whole lot of clarity right now about anything except just being tired and not really wanting to go meet with these people at 10 o'clock this morning. I don't want to fucking teach English. You gotta be kidding me. But when life gives you lemons, make the proverbial lemonade. Hi, Ruth. How you doing? It's pretty uneventful morning, pretty uneventful live stream. I'm not looking to rock the world or anything this morning. Just tired of all the hysteria. Yeah, tired of all the hysteria for sure. Well, I mean, as I was just saying, like school's been canceled for the rest of the year, and all the debate tournaments at the end of the year have been canceled. My kid's not going to go compete at TOC after all because it's gone. He's an 8th grader. This is his last chance to win middle school states or middle school TOC or something like that, and he's lost his opportunity to do so. It was possibly my last chance ever to get another state champion or another national champion or another TOC champion. I haven't ever gotten a TOC champion. ultimately making my way in this career for the rest of my life, in the sense that I've got bigger, better things on the around the corner. Not that I don't like coaching debate, I do, but I just don't see. I just don't see me going back into it and getting full blast, being a full blast debate coach like I used to be. Too much. You have to know that's what you want to do. At the time, I did. It's like I knew I wanted to be. I wanted to win. I wanted to win every tournament. I wanted to win every competition. But now I'm less motivated. Hi, King Christian Sarah Pagoo. Hi, Cloud. So, despite all the satisfying resolution implicit in, now she's here and there's a lot of little SI kind of things I need to attend to. The cat's going to be okay. That's important. Are you sure you're not buffering, Cloud? It might be you. Probably it is. I don't see any indication of buffering on my end. And I would also say it seems likely that April 1st, Rachel, see, the current plan for Rachel is this. She's here for 2 weeks. She's supposed to then go back to New York for 2 weeks and then come back here for to live. Well, during that 2 weeks when she's supposed to go back to New York, I think what we're going to do instead is take a drive and probably go visit. I think the destination is Winston's mom, and then we'll see who we can hit on the way there or back or whatever. About a 2-week long trip in total. We won't go all the way across country. We'll probably go to Kentucky. Maybe stop and see Taylor in Missouri. I better stay out of Kansas. Kansas doesn't like me. Why not? Who knows? I'm a little fiery, perhaps, for them. So, nobody listened to me about COVID-19. And we're going to see definitely a permanently damaged economy. So, hi, baby cakes.
Hi. Did that medicine, I'm guessing?
I didn't give her any yet. In fact, I was waiting for you to get up because I'm hoping to delegate the.
Yeah, she's going to squirm.
I think, well, look, this has to be given with food. She's not really eating at the moment.
No.
I say let's give it to her a little bit later. The one's in the fridge is in the fridge.
Okay.
I just don't feel like doing it right now.
Sure.
I mean, if you want to go grab it.
No, I want to do it together.
Okay,
so,
let's just chill for a bit. Kitty's like knocked out still, kind of. So she's fine. I saw her get up and go in the kitchen earlier, but so how'd you sleep last night?
Good, actually.
Did you?
Yeah, I have
Good.
to say, yeah.
I actually didn't sleep very well. Oddly, yeah. I'm not sure why. It's just I probably am going to sleep more during the day today. Probably still had a little bit of Addie in me or something like that.
I mean, I was a little bit like up still. Like I would wake up at certain times. I think it was an adjustment too.
Yeah, it's an adjustment. Like you know, I think I wanted to make sure I didn't like steal the covers from you or something. And,
See, yeah, I had a feeling that might be. I'll just take it on a blanket.
but see, I wasn't going to steal the covers from you. You had to bring this blanket.
Yeah, I'll bring this one. That's fine.
Okay.
Oh my god, so considerate.
But I mean, how much better is it that when I get up, I can come out here and start live streaming? You're not sleeping in the same room. Yeah, you can,
It's wonderful.
and you can sleep. And it's so it's like this is gonna be a lot easier for us to. I mean, not that it was ever difficult, but it's gonna be even easier for us to successfully live together and be together because we have 2 rooms instead of 1. What you got there? Oh yeah, I thought you picked some up. Oh, you put your phone down.
Just my phone. No, apparently, like the place that I go to for therapy, like things are closed again. Like so, like, because some of the ladies from my group they just texted me and like activities are like shut down. I think they're still taking patients, but and places in New York, it's only delivery and takeout. There's no you can't go in the restaurants. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
In general, it's been crazy empty. Like the roads are empty. I've got these clients that I have no reason to work for them anymore at the moment because there's no more debate tournaments. But they want to hire me to work remotely with their kid on English anyway. And it's like I don't even want to do that. But I'll probably do a little bit of it.
Do you want?
Yeah, I mean the thing is, I'm incredibly fortunate because I don't necessarily have to be a teacher. 3/4 of the income comes from substitute teaching. That's all gone for the rest of the year. Now he's also fortunate. He lives in a situation kind of like me, where he doesn't necessarily have a shit ton of expenses that are absolutely necessary. You know, people are going to end up living with their families. That's just all there is to it because the world doesn't. It's like for me to maintain a separate household right now would be more or less impossible. I'd have to work a lot more. I'd have to get, like I couldn't even get a job right now because the stuff I do is not requires there to be students who are learning things.
You don't need this, do you?
It was just sort of a decorative thing they put on her collar to make it seem more, I guess, cheerful.
Aww.
There's nothing cheerful about a collar, an e-collar.
Nope.
Talk about depressing. I just can't see my animals wearing those things. Like just being like, how horrible.
Would you like these somewhere? Like
Rachel, I would like you to do whatever you feel like doing with anything and not even have to worry about consulting me about anything.
Well, except that I just wanted you to know where they are too if you were looking for them.
Where are my sodas? Rachel, where'd you put my colas? That's fine, Rachel. It's not that big of a room. I'll find them.
Well, you want them in like the fridge?
I want you to do what you think is best. The fridge is a little too cold at the moment. It might be frozen or not cold enough. All right, now I'm going to pull this bong rip. I'm going to transubstantiate this one to Ruse Moose. Ruse Moose, you're getting this transubstantiated bong rip. If you currently have COVID, it may cause you to cough a little more than usual. Just a warning. I transubstantiate thee. No problem, Rismus. That one it's $100 OG is what the weed's called. It's pretty good. It's the best kind of weed they have there at the Weed Mart. $100 OG. It's not actually $100, but it is about 11 or $12 a gram. The weed store is the one place that's still crowded. The weed store, if anything, is even more crowded.
I bet that they're stocking up just in case.
I mean, it just... Yeah, I know. I got you, Ruth. I figured the coffee shops were weed stores. Yeah, I got what you're saying. Yeah, but the weed stores are still jam-packed. All these signs up like at 7-Eleven. Please be considerate. 1 case/gallon per person family. I didn't even say of what. It's like everybody's trying to stock up on whatever for no reason. It's weird.
Okay, can I be honest?
Uh-huh.
I think I might have it.
I do
I
too.
touch it, but I'm not really feeling panic.
Right, I think we both have it probably.
Yeah.
I think my dad has it too.
Yeah, I do too. Basically, anyone who sniffles probably has it.
It's a fucking cold. Is what it is.
Yeah.
It's a bad
Right.
cold.
You're right.
And that's all it is. And people are freaking out.
Laundry or not?
Yeah, sure. Take the belt off of it though.
Yeah.
First. Thank you, darling.
Straightening up a little, right? I thought you
Yeah,
were
you're
fine.
doing you're a spectacular person. You're a spectacular human being.
Thank you, baby. So are you.
It's funny to see which professions are not blocked by government implementations.
Huh? What aren't? I don't know many that aren't.
I mean, it's if you've got a bunch of Los Angeles.
Yeah. It seemed like a young group of kids who were going to work on like a film or something.
So that's the sort of thing that's not going to be impacted necessarily unless the people involved themselves choose to be impacted thusly. But like, my clients are having me work with their kids remotely. Prior to this COVID thing, I kept trying to get them to have me work remotely so I wouldn't have to drive over there. And they're like, no, it's not good enough. You have to come drive over here. Okay, fine. Well, now all of a sudden it's good enough. Why? Because it's a stupid virus thing. Except both those parents are younger than me. They're look to be mid-30s. And their kids are 8th grade and 5th grade, respectively. They are not going to even suffer any harm from COVID. I mean, I'm sure they're not working either. I'm sure the LA Philharmonic isn't playing shows right now.
No, my dad had a concert for Melissa Etheridge, and that was like canceled. So professionals are definitely not working.
Right. Now Vegas is still open. They're still holding the World Series of Poker.
Oh.
I saw an article that said the World Series of Poker is a petri dish for disease. Why hasn't it been canceled? Well, because somebody in Nevada has some sense.
I'm glad that we pushed up. Like, it just seems that more and more things are like.
I'm glad we pushed up too, because I needed you here so we could find Kitty. As soon as Rachel comes here, like the very first thing is we come into the backyard here. First place she looks, there's Kitty. Just lying there waiting to be taken to the vet.
That was unexpected.
Right. Well, I mean, Winston's mom totally called it too. Winston's mom totally called it. Exactly what she said would happen. It's like, she's like, Rachel, when you get there, look in the bushes around the house. I have a feeling Kitty's just a few feet from the door. She was. Rosebush is currently working at a company that builds high voltage transformer down as long as the internet's still working, and because various things, I can think of shit tons of businesses that are hugely negatively affected by this. I tell you who's not negatively affected by it: the veterinarian. The vet's not negatively affected by it because it doesn't matter if COVID's going on or what. If your cat's hurt and you love your cat like I do, then you're naturally going to take your cat to the vet. So, the vet got $750 out of me, but you know what? I think they deserved it, frankly. because they did a fair amount of work on her.
Yeah. It's
Level of attention. Like the vet called me after they were finished and gave me a very thorough breakdown of what was going on, and I appreciated that. I feel like they earned their money. So
I'd like to do something to thank your dad. Like whatever you think he may enjoy.
okay, well, I'll have to think about it a little bit. I mean, additionally, it's like my dad just told me a little while ago that he plans to cut me a check for $500 because he doesn't like the fact that I had to pay so much for the veterinarian.
Oh.
So that's the kind of dad I got. I didn't ask him for anything. I just sort of let him know that I wasn't asking for anything. I wasn't telling him I was needed help or anything, but he's a great dad. So the thing is, of course, that $500 will help Rachel and I in our planned trip across country by car to visit. Hey, Rachel, I sort of unilaterally indicated that our destination for a trip would be Winston's mom's house, and that we could see people in between here and there, either on the way there or back.
Yeah.
And so that way we have I am confident Winston's mom will be happy and willing to have us come see her and visit for an evening or something. And then so that's a good destination. Even though I haven't cleared this with her yet, actually technically, but when she shows up, I'll try to clear this with her. And they probably planned for April 8th for us to arrive in Kentucky.
Okay. Oh, she's in Kentucky?
Yeah.
Cool.
So we leave here at April 1st. We've got 7 days to get to Kentucky, which means we don't have to go super long distance each day. Then 7 days to get back.
Sounds good to me.
What do you guys think? Sound like a plan? Norway can go to hell, says Cloud.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
agree.
fuck Norway.
Yeah, fuck Norway.
Yeah. Why can Norway go to hell, Cloud?
Yeah.
What
Yeah,
you got
why-
against Norway exactly?
Why are they having fun?
I guess Norway's being fussy about the virus.
Oh, he's Norwegian?
No, he's not Norwegian. But Ken Krishna Sarmapagu said Italy is going crazy right now. Norway is following them now.
See that.
And that prompted Cloud to say, Norway can go to hell.
Well, I gotta say, we're pretty set for a virus.
Yeah, we are set. We're fine. We're gonna just hunker down here. Get all juicy in our SI.
We're watching Naruto?
Watch some Naruto. Not right this second,
No.
though. Yeah.
No, I mean throughout the hunkering down.
Indeed. Can someone tell me if Portland is worth a visit? I'm currently thinking of cities that I want to visit after graduation. Greeting from Germany, by the way. Well, TMB Scar Night, I would say. Here's the deal. Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, your big cities on the West Coast, are all riddled with a very beautiful city where everything's blah, blah, blah. It's a beautiful city where now there's people camping various places.
It's interesting because when I saw it too, when we went to Berkeley, it's just there's really tents everywhere
Mm-hmm.
and makeshift tents, but then there's also there's trash everywhere.
Mm-hmm. It's not like homeless people are tidy in their encampments. And, it's like yesterday, I guess it was yesterday. No, the day before, Cameron and I went bike riding down the Santa Fe Dam River area, which is it's a natural bike path, jogging path, kind of natural area that goes alongside of this San Gabriel Canyon riverbed, which it rarely has water in it. It's usually has a very small amount of water in the middle. I know you weren't serious, Cloud. I was joking. So guess what? I'm gonna sidetrack the home field. Guess what kind of cards I discovered Rachel has? You're never gonna believe it. Teal Swan cards. Teal Swan cards. Yeah. Well, the thing is, I like the cards.
Yeah.
But I
me
hate
too.
Teal Swan.
I see. Even when I was buying them, it was very conflicting.
I believe it. They're cool cards, though. I would give her that. They're cool cards. It's just that the country sucks. The country of Norway? Norway is pretty fucking great, dude. You can't really beat Norway as far as not shithole countries. Even Trump agrees with that. The big cities are all riddled with homeless people. Rose Moose. On the West Coast, anyway. The thing is, if you want to go to a nice city in America that doesn't have homeless people, you got to go someplace where there's harsh weather, like Minnesota. I'm pretty sure that St. Paul, Minneapolis area doesn't have very many homeless people,
True.
if any. Salt Lake City, probably pretty free of homeless people.
In the cold they can't survive.
Yeah, they don't want to be somewhere where it gets snowy and stuff. They tend to be in the beach communities.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the thing is, it's one of my primary considerations. When I'm president, we've got to do something about it. It's ridiculous. We have public spaces that are public spaces for the public, and they are no longer public spaces because individual homeless people have taken over these spaces and homesteaded them functionally. And so that's not acceptable. The Supreme Court has indicated you cannot forcibly displace people unless there's someplace for them to go, quote unquote. So I have a solution in mind for this as president, which is a centrally located, off in the boonies, homeless town where we ship them all to. I mean, the thing is, it can't be forcible. It can't be forcible there either, right? But it has to be, okay, well, you need services. All the services are centrally located in this one place that's called Homeless Services Town in the center of the middle of nowhere. And you can get free tickets there anywhere from the country if you're a homeless person. And you can't get any free tickets away from there. But obviously they're not forced to stay. They can leave. But we structure it such that it's easy to get there and hard to get away from there without sufficient, setting them up with rent and stuff,
Homelessness is such a complex topic.
It is.
Because even if you make a place like that for people, there's a huge chance that they're just gonna be like, no, I like it here. Like, it's just like, it's like a weird. But shelters are a big deal. Like that helps.
Right. Well, it's a bunch of services. It's shelters.
Yeah.
It's medical services. It's food. It's all the things that homeless people need, and it's all centrally located. And so that way, cities will be able to say, "I'm sorry, you can't sleep here on the street," and the Supreme Court says we have to have somebody to send them. What do we do? And that way, problem solved. I mean, the thing is, it's not really solved in the sense that you're still going to have these homeless people periodically popping up, but they're going to understand that if they're occupying public spaces in a way that is homesteady like that, then they're going to be gotten by the cops and sent to this place.
Yeah.
Kitty, she's underneath here. Yeah, she's kind of knocked out at the moment. Let me move this door out of your way. Thank you, Dad. I appreciate it. You're a gentleman, a scholar, and a reader of fine literature.
Hi, Kitty.
Well, right now she's, I guess you'd say, a little traumatized from the whole thing. You know,
I
she's
understand that, yeah.
she's just chilling.
Okay, you getting settled?
Yeah, yes, and
Okay.
thank you so much for letting me come a few days earlier. It really helps.
Yeah, well, one way or the other.
Yeah.
You're here and you're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, all right.
All right.
Another day.
Yeah, I got a client at 10 o'clock remotely I got to talk to, but other than that,
The guys come today.
the gardeners.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh,
Down from the garage. I said, "Hey, Dad, I got this thing down. It's
well, I know, I recognize. I don't even know what it is.
It's a receiver. For I'm gonna plug in the audio through this. I'm gonna get my speakers down. I'm gonna plug the audio in. They're in the garage too, not up here. They're in the garage.
The speakers, yeah,
Yeah.
the big things.
Yeah, I'm gonna get the speakers. I'm gonna attach them to this.
You know, we may have one problem.
What's that?
If I need my tax returns.
I can get them down. Oh, they're in here. Okay, well,
Oh, I don't need them at the moment. I'm just saying that if I do need them.
okay, well, I'll get them out of there if you need them.
No, it's good. We're good.
Okay, cool.
But at some point, I don't think I'll need them.
Okay, cool.
All right.
All right, good. Thanks, Dad.
Oh.
We know that species are on a different level of evolution between themselves, but nobody ever talks about how there are levels of evolution between individual human beings. Well, because, I mean, even if you were to accept the whole evolutionary thesis, that would preclude the idea of individual humans being different levels of evolution because they're all the same species, and species evolve, not individuals.
I'm gonna give you a good morning kiss on it. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for knocking these
Oh,
things
thanks.
over
That would
the
be.
process.
I don't want to lose my cards. Where do you keep the hats?
In that pink thing over there. Okay, well, what kind of evolution do you want to accept then, Cloud? Yes, Yes, X Dark Prince. I see you. Just the levels of consciousness. Okay, well, if you're talking about metaphysical evolution, in other words, humans evolving by a language and communication to increasing levels of understanding, increasing levels of intelligence of the species, that's true. That's legit. It's ultimately our ability to communicate, namely to convey complex abstractions. Well, why is more abstract complexity a higher level than less abstract complexity? Ahoy, it's Talbot. Hi, Talbot. Ahoy there. So, I mean, it is true that ESFJs are sort of abstractly simpler than INTJs or ENTPs, but that doesn't make them less evolved. Mindfulness, thoughts, and understanding of the world is higher in the average INTJ. Okay, well, I don't know about the mindfulness part. Probably, I guess, depending on how you define it, but certainly thoughts are more complex or more abstract, and understanding is more complex or more abstract, but that doesn't mean that it's higher or lower, right? It doesn't mean they're higher or lower human beings. They're human beings who express by more abstraction or less abstraction. That doesn't make them more or less complex. Are functions of linked to biology and more than linked to metaphysics. But that doesn't make them more or less godly. That's a ridiculous. You're trying to make things normative that are non-normative, Cloud. That's what it boils down to. If someone watches Netflix all day and listens to music all day, ignoring their responsibilities, are they INFP? Possibly. Or INTP. One of the two, probably. That's a good guess. Look, I mean, here's the thing. I don't think I'm more evolved than people who are into, physical shit. What's the difference between an unhealthy INFJ and an SE group? And so it's not the case that if an INFJ is engaged in their relief function, their fourth slot function, that they're unhealthy. It could simply be that they are responding to trauma or just, in fact, needing relief from their nature. So when I engage in SI a lot, it doesn't mean I'm unhealthy or that there's anything wrong with that. It usually means I'm tired or hungry or thirsty and just need to spend some time not ideating, doing something very physical and simple. But here's the question, Cloud. Why isn't wisdom related to survival? Why do those types do that, though? I don't think the INFJ can sustain that while an ESP can.
Can I open the?
Yeah, sure, of course, do what you want. I mean, look, when Rachel is in her least healthy manifestation, she does have around the world doing shit. But
Yeah.
But that's the thing is that is an unhealthy manifestation of SE in her, but there's also a perfectly healthy manifestation of SE. For example, what she's doing right now, she's SEing the space, and it's very healthy and fantastic. And it's like when Rachel came here last time, she took no real ownership of anything. Like she didn't take any ownership of the space. She didn't feel entitled to anything. I want her to feel entitled. I want her to feel as just much ownership of everything as I have. And she's starting to sort of feel that, like, which means she feels like cleaning up and putting shit places. She just starts cleaning up and putting shit places. She doesn't worry about the FE concerns that might otherwise prevent her from taking action. It doesn't always have to be negative. It doesn't at all need to always be negative here, Lamb. The fourth slide properly. If I'm not attending to my body and my thirst and my hunger and my all that kind of stuff, which is normally the case when I'm thwacked out. I don't really pay any attention to my body or SI experiences. And that's not healthy for me. When I'm too much in my dominant nature, I need to take some relief from that. And my relief is Virai. It's a shower, bath, or sleeping, lying down, meow, all that kind of stuff. So, now, the thing is, in contrast, the SE, what Rachel's doing now is the SE part of an SI jurisdiction in general. So it's like, is organizing your space and having things ergonomically set up so that you can easily get to them and and you're not tripping over shit and blah blah blah. Does that make your SI space a lot more comfortable? Yes. Does it require SE to make it that way? Yes. And it shows you exactly the spot where SE and SI collaborate with each other. SI makes note of what it wants to have, how it wants the status quo to be different than the existing thing in terms of comfort for the self. And then SE makes it happen by moving shit around and making a pot of coffee and all that other stuff that you do. You know, it's it's the natural back and forth in the same way that SE and the SI and NE have a natural back and forth. So too do SE and NI have a natural back and forth. The S's and N's work with both each other pretty smoothly. So, hi Nicolay Shea, how are you? Did you make that video ever? If you didn't, I'm going to wag my finger at you as your unofficial life coach. I'm entitled to finger wags. That's part of my powers. As your unofficial life coach, I can wag fingers if need be. So, you know, be forewarned. If you ain't made progress on that, you're gonna get a finger wag.
Do you have a comb anywhere?
Yeah. There's that orange comb that you had, I think.
Oh.
Where was that? I moved this thing up here at some point because I wanted it to look cleaner. So here's the orange comb. This isn't a comb exactly.
Yeah, it's like
Oh, it is a comb.
Yeah. Thank you.
So how is her NI manifesting here? It's not really. This is not Rachel in introverted intuition mode. It's more of an SISE thing.
I want to eat like you know when we had that Thai food that time and like I could I could use that. I feel like it would kick the cold out.
We did have spicy food last night.
Yeah, that was spicy.
You have a cough, so you're staying home. There it is, Nicolay Shea. There it is. You feel the shaming, don't you? I would argue that nobody will ever see an ESFJ Messiah. And I is directly related to wisdom and otherworldliness. Okay, well, I would actually agree with you, Cloud, that we'll never see an ESFJ Messiah. But
Those babies dead.
are they dead? What?
Oh. Ooh. Yeah.
Oh, we have a couple dead babies?
Or like said something. Yeah.
Well, let's close the door because we got the carpets.
See like a pop.
Those are snails.
Oh. Never mind.
Those aren't dead babies. Those are snails. Ahoy, it's Talbot. It says, I don't think that's good, though. It makes me neglect real life responsibilities. Well, I mean, the thing is, it depends somewhat on your Enneagram type as well. So, Rachel's Enneagram type 7, like me, and we both are the same way as what you say there, Ahoy. It's Talbot. We tend to neglect real life responsibilities. There's simple follow through things that I get hung up on, like an app that's got some sort of problem with it where you get stuck on something. You know, you gotta restart the app. There's certain kinds of like basic follow through tasks that I just have a lot of problems executing, and that's why people will say, "Well, you have executive function problems there." Oh, you're also a 7. Well, there you go. Ahoy, it's Talbot. What you need is a much more productive than you, but also 7 ENTP mate. That's what you need. As an INFJ7, a Hoyt's Talbot needs a much more productive than a Hoyt's Talbot, but also 7 ENTP. Because it's important that you both be 7s, I think. Rachel and I really get the immature thing. We both respect it in each other. Well, I don't want to do that because I'm being immature right now. Is a fine excuse.
I think it's, yeah, and I think a 7 thing is too. Like I like doing things with you when you want to do them with me too. Like when we agree. Like another type can be more passive about that, and that bugs me when there's like no opinion at all. Like sometimes, of course, it's gonna happen, but when it's constantly like me being the idea person for things.
Well, that's where you're not getting your 5th slot extroverted intuition validated. So it's like if you're with somebody who doesn't ideate, then you're going to feel too much responsibility to do that yourself, and that's going to bug you.
Yeah.
I know, Hero Lamb, you're right. The regular flu has already killed more people than this coronavirus, buddy. We live with it every year. Not only that, but cold, except it's a more severe variant. It's like baby SARS.
I feel so warm. You don't feel warm?
But we have to leave the doors closed until the gardeners leave because they're so loud.
Yeah, that's okay. No, I'm just. Do you feel warm at all? Okay, I just need. Can you feel me?
You feel perfectly fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Let me feel here. Yep, feel fine. This one probably needs a little bit more massaging. I think this one got a little tenser than this one over the course of it. So it feels more relaxed.
Maybe at bedtime or something, we got squished more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. It's like you've left them unattended now for weeks, and so obviously I've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's ridiculous. Rachel and I both think we already have it. And I think my dad already has it too. But how do you get tested? I think that once they start doing thorough, full-scale testing, they'll discover that pretty much everybody already has it. That's what I think. And I'm Eric, the guru. So it's true. Well, Eric said blah. Well, who's Eric? Oh, you gotta listen to Eric. He's right about everything. Really? Yeah. Links directly to the particularness of their statement. So, an ESFJ will be very correct about Jody's FE shit, but not necessarily about FE shit in general. The FE shit in general is going to be like, there's my NI. I can look on the wall at the sign. They totally think, I mean, in this regard, they're kind of similar to ENTPs. They totally think they can just define things how they want to define them, and that's how they will be. They're putting up a sign on your wall that says, "Love grows best in small homes." That will make it true. Here come the gardeners. Gardening away.
Corona closed down the schools territory. Well, a lot of schools are closed down. This is even better why I'm here too, because my brother will be home most days, and Hey, Maddie Sanchez.
It's Maria Sanchez. Guys, listen. Cloud's right. Talking is useless. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? God.
Should we be miming?
Yeah, we really should be miming.
How is it?
Oh, I'm stuck in the box.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the wind. Oh, the wind. Miming. Miming is funny.
It is.
Cloud, I want you to practice miming. And when you come in here from now on, instead of typing into the chat, I want you to mime into the chat. Okay? I love you so much, my precious wonder pants of glory. Rachel is a precious wonder pants of glory. Doesn't that sound like a Christian song?
It does. That pimple. This one you helped me with. It's healing.
Yeah.
I
Cutie.
just want to be able to give her the. We should really give her everything. I don't want her to be in pain.
Right. How does an INFJ act when they're in love? Well, if they're in love with the right person, they act completely out of characterishly goofy periodically. They get a little gaff. I'm very gaff about Rachel, and Rachel's gaff about me. You know that old show team.
I squeal a lot when
Yeah.
from excitement, from like
You do.
yeah.
It's great. It makes me feel really good. It's because the thing is, what Rachel understands, because she's with the right person, is that there's basically no way that she can authentically express. I see. So, what's the alternative to vacancy and blather?
Yeah. I hope this is. Oh my gosh! Stop. Can I say that out loud? I laughed so hard this morning because my roommate said very seriously, "I hope this will bring us all closer together." And I replied, "Well, that isn't really stopping the spread now, is it?" No, it's not. It's not bringing us together. I was on a
Social
plane
distancing.
yesterday. What?
Social distancing.
Yeah.
That's
People
the new
want-
term.
Yeah. I was visibly like nose runny yesterday, and the looks that I was getting, it was like stay away. So not
And like when I go out in the public now, I have to cough. I'm very self-conscious about it.
yeah,
go.
sneezes.
I mean, I always did that anyway, but I think it will bring us together later down the line once a few people get sick and then get well. I mean, in my opinion, Nick Lachey, shit tons of people already have this thing and are totally unaware of it
Yeah.
because that's how fucking nonsense it is.
Yeah.
The Striker X. Shut up.
You shut up.
You shut up, Striker X. Why should I shut up? After all, I'm speaking the truth. We have 31 cases of sick people. Well, I will be proved correct in the long term. Well, I said from the outset, I will be proved right that, in fact, we're doing way more harm than good. This was a terrible decision. It was hysterical overreaction. That we should treat it like any other flu. Here in Bulgaria, we had like 5 confirmed cases, and almost everything is closed at the end of March. I know, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. The thing is, I said it from the very outset, and You know, it's like this is the problem when you have a president like Trump. He was correct. He was correct about this thing from the outset. But because he's an ESFP, he doesn't think words matter. So what he said was, I'm quite confident that this is fine. It's a hunch. That was his justification. So why is this gone the way it has? Because there's been no world leader, as I would
True.
have, who'd framed the thing properly, who'd required the real questions that need to be answered, who would require that a real impact calculus be done. If you have an ESFP president, which we do, I'm quite certain at this point it's ESFP, not an ESTP, then you have somebody who doesn't understand how critically important words are and which words you use. And then that's the difference between this clusterfuck of disaster and a sensible response. You'd totally get arrested, dude. You would totally get arrested.
SpongeBob. Servers are down?
For school.
I'm surprised that you're in school still.
Who's not?
Oh.
Supposed to be doing it online, but their servers are down.
Oh. It's a nice day off for everyone. You know? It's like when the world took a hiatus.
Right. It'll be known as virus time.
And I think it's important for people to like take time to wind down and stuff and to like, but it shouldn't be forced in this kind of, because a lot of people don't want to be home or, you know, not at work. A lot.
Right, sure. I mean, for everybody who's working really hard, they're happy to have this virus holiday. At the same time, they probably needed the money, and they got certainly mixed feelings.
Yeah.
Like Cameron,
Yeah.
you know, he's a substitute teacher. He's lost 3/4 of his income now, and they're not going to open up school again for the rest of the year. So is that going to have a ripple effect on the economy when you've got all these people who are burning through whatever reserves they have right now? And, you know, is it going to reduce consumer spending overall? Of course, dramatically, because you got people with substantially less money. It's going to have a long term from this. The reason this disaster is the way it is because an ESFP like you had the same attitude you have about words and expressed the wrong words in response to this, and as a consequence, there's no leadership in the world. If I were in charge who respects words, this wouldn't be happening. I can't perform my choir range. Well, that might be possible. Tom Jickelson. It might be possible that an EHP does not have enough SC to become president. We'll see.
But how did Obama do it then?
Yeah, Obama was an EHP. The toilet paper industry isn't complaining. That's true.
No, they're not. Neither. Yeah, Kleenex, all those people, they're definitely
Purell.
something to invest in. No, you're right, Cloud. Because Cloud, you are just a cloud.
Mm. Well, anyway, you know, it's like no, that's not really the case. I just, you see, I don't sort of not see eye to eye in that regard. You tend to invest belief into things, whereas I recognize things are true conditionally.
That's good.
So,
That's a good point.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So here's the thing about the presidency. In general, I would tend to agree that if if this were my plan and my will happening or something, that I probably wouldn't have the sufficient wherewithal to make it happen. It's clearly slab willed. So I'm I mean, one of the advantages of the way I approach things is I have access both to faith-based modalities and reason-based modalities in equal measure. So I apply the equivalent of belief without the burden of it. So I'll never be as good at it as an ESFP, but if I were as good at it as an ESFP, I wouldn't be capable of in all the other ways that are necessary. So you know, he's what a smart ESFP looks like, which is to say he's engaged in interesting topics. He's successfully provocative, and he's not parsing by a language at all. So it's like the words aren't there to understand things. They're there to do SE on the external metaphysical plane. Let's say sort of kick the anthill, which is fine. Anthills need to be kicked.
True. Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
So it just had me thinking, so when they're in their element with SE and they're using it for other people, they're very effective. I appreciate ESFPs for that.
Yeah. They do have a lot of stick-to-itiveness as well. That's the thing that ESPs lack.
Yeah.
It's a fair critique of ESPs that they don't have enough SE to be president or
Sure.
become president.
Right.
This is the thing. And enough SE to become president is a different question than enough SE to be president. I don't think anybody disputes that, any sane person disputes that I'd successfully be president. And I haven't really heard anybody tell me that they don't think I'd be a good president, that they think I'd be a bad president, that they don't think they could trust me with the job or anything like that. I've heard a lot of people tell me they don't think I can become president. So I find that encouraging.
I do too. I mean, you've even done the opposite where someone was like, okay, like, why are you going to be president? Show me, like, your credentials, and you pretty much turn them around.
I might disagree about some specific policy, and when they start actually asking me about it, my position is pretty nuanced, and they find they don't really disagree with me necessarily that much.
Yeah.
And so, for people who aren't so much inclined to care about the actualities of policy, I think in dealing with me, they realize I'm earnest about what I'm saying, and I'm not trying to blow smoke.
Yeah.
Deciding who they want to vote for, right?
True.
I think I validate on most of them.
I think so too.
Anybody's okay, let's see.
Isn't there an element of meaning?
What you mean? With TI, it's meaning what you say.
Ah.
So TI, for me, it seems, I've always thought it was odd when people would say things like, well, I said that, but I didn't mean that. That's an FI thing. I said that, but I didn't mean that is an FI thing. I'd always say, well, what do you mean you didn't mean that? Those were the words you said. What else did you mean but the words you said? Well, what they're trying to convey is they've got feelings that don't parse down into language very neatly, and so they can only, to some extent, express what they actually mean. Whereas in contrast, since I'm not talking about the mushy things, and I tend to focus on language as something that has binary meanings and stuff that can't be expressed in language as being not worth talking about, As a consequence, I'm always about saying, I mean what I say. So I go, I don't know.
Yeah.
When you ask me FI questions,
I don't know. I don't. I wouldn't know how to put like FI into words. It just comes out, and sometimes it's not even words. It's sounds.
Right. When we say things like "I love you," but we're what we mean is I feel good in your presence or something. Like you make me feel warmy and glowy and
It's weird. That's like that's FI. It's like poetry stuff. The feeling I have for you makes me turn into goo.
love is like a red rose.
Yes, so velvety and soft, like your skin on a summer's eve.
Are you cold enough now?
I don't know why.
Because you're a woman. You have
I am
you
being
have
weird.
warming and cooling hormones.
Yeah.
Women have warming and cooling hormones. For those who didn't know that.
It's like a fan.
Show me the way of self typing.
I don't know.
All right, so no, right. But see, it's true that that when I lied to my dad, I didn't. I said I meant what I said, but it was deceptive. In other words, I knew that the meaning I was saying was false. In contrast, a feeler might say, would still say they were lying in that instance. Probably they wouldn't view it any differently because it was a different kind of thing. It was a factual matter. It wasn't a talking about the mushy, undefinable aspects of feelings. Okay, so Timothy Scar Knight says he thought that humans couldn't be unbiased towards themselves. In general, that's true. There are exceptions, which is to say, if, like me, you have TI as a tool function, you have a disinterested calculus by sort of definition as your way of dealing with things. Now, if additionally you have a lot of practice taking that disinterested calculus and applying it to yourself, then you may come up prioritizing as the prime value your capacity to be disinterested about yourself. If that's your top level value, then in fact you can and will be disinterested about yourself, as I am. In other words, I don't allow bias to influence my deliberative conclusions. Now, just because I don't allow bias to influence my deliberative conclusions doesn't mean that I am unbiased. Everybody is infused with plenty of bias, but it's implicit to having interests. But it doesn't mean that that bias has to impact your deliberative calculus, and it doesn't impact mine, even when I'm applying it to myself. But for most people, that's not the case. It is possible to do some visual typing. However, it's a entirely subjective approach to typing, which is to say it's not a way to justify a person's type. You can see, for example, I'm always bouncing my knee and otherwise fidgeting, and I touching myself a lot and doing this kind of stuff. That's indicative of weak SI, but probably front stack. So it's consistent with fourth slot SI, but it wouldn't be a good way to type me. Do TI users look like unputrefied walking corpses? No. So, for example, if you see a SI Dom ISTJ, they're likely to be sitting very still. And similarly with ISFJ, they tend to sit still. They find themselves a comfortable position. They're aware of their they're aware of their body and how it's feeling and such.
I can see like ISFJs like playing with their hair or something.
Yeah, they could do that potentially. ISTJs are the stillest types.
Yeah.
MBTI is one thing, but the cognitive function model that I presented is a lot more than a bridge or a tool. It's a linguistic skill set that allows you to metacognate substantially better. In other words, it has exponential positive impacts, not just a linear progression. If you don't understand it as that, then you're not understanding cognitive functions adequately, because it's almost impossible to understand anything but that when you understand cognitive functions properly. In other words, there exists in the status quo prior to cognitive functions no meaningful way to taxonomy or understand human cognition. Period. It's that big. It's that simple. It's not a science. It's not a science, LOL Feroz. It is a linguistic analytics tool that allows you to parse things vastly more effectively than you ever could prior to it. In other words, it's a new language that's a more effective coding language than ones that existed previously in terms of your own metacognition. Now, you're undervaluing the metacognition because you're saying, well, that doesn't validate universally enough on a science level or on an empirics level. That's the okay. Well, no, it's not just a tool. You're misunderstanding that. It's a frame. It's an entirely new frame that allow. It's a tool factory, is what it is. It's a tool factory. To call it a tool is to dramatically underestimate its power. I mean, the cloud, you do metacognition too. Even TI polar people do metacognition. Metacognition is simply the capacity to think about your own thinking and reflect upon what it represents, or have some sort of frame through which you can analyze why and how you come to certain conclusions, or how you think about that. It's going to be a lot more challenging for you to do any kind of objective metacognition, because with TI polar, you're doing by default, and with a tool function of FI, you're doing an interested calculus, not a disinterested calculus. But even an interested calculus can comprise metacognition. Almost like math, if you want to apply it to the real world, you can't count on full precision. Right. You have a certain number of decimal places you're going to get to, by at which point you say this is close enough. Just as math is the physical symbolic language of the physical world and interactions between physical objects, so too is cognitive. Those cognitive functions comprise the language of the metaphysical world in terms of agents and their capacity to make things abstract and talk like I'm talking now and all that kind of stuff. What is the word calculus outside of math? Well, a calculus or a metric is a modality of calculating. And calculus is a modality of calculating, particularly curves and shit across time. So when I say a given calculus, I mean, if Cloud's trying to determine whether he's an ESFP or an ISFP, he's using his feelings. He's saying, well, what do I want to be? He's obviously an extrovert. It's ridiculous. The idea that he'd be an ISFP is ridiculous. Just absolutely ridiculous. He's so obviously an extrovert, even in the chat, right? But it doesn't matter to him, because he's not looking at it universally. He's not using a disinterested calculus at all. By default, he uses an interested calculus in deciding things. So because he feels like he wants to be an ISFP, he is one. And it's arrogant of me to challenge it, because I don't know him. Well, of course he's going to think that, because he uses FI as a tool function. So it's always a matter of his own feelings. And so I couldn't possibly be right about him, because I don't know him. I don't know his feelings. Well, that's true. I don't know him and I don't know his feelings, but I'm still right. Let's see. Yeah, opinions differ. Mine's a better opinion in that it's more defensible. what impression you got from me, Chief? Well, sport, let me tell you, Tiger. I don't know. Probably some sort of TP.
Toilet paper?
Explain it to me. Explain as you want to me why INTP has such high NI. It's demonstrative. It's not high. I mean,
It is demonstrative. You're right.
This is the sort of thing that causes us to be confused about it. We use these wrong kind of terms. You're using a spectral term when it's not a spectral matter. It's demonstrative. It means when the world calls upon the INTP to demonstrate something, they will typically demonstrate NI. They will not apply it to their own life at all. In fact, they countervalue it strongly in their own life.
That's so interesting. You just like light bulbed me for like people in the entertainment business who are INTPs. Like the stuff that they make is so universal.
Right.
And they want to genuinely.
Right. Well, like look at Donald Fagen. He makes really you can see how NE is forced to demonstrative function into something that's universalized. And same thing with like the guy who makes Rick and Morty apparently is an INTP. I suspect the guy who makes South Park is an INTP too, but he might be an INTP.
That's Dan Harmon is the creator, one of the creators of Rick and Morty, and he also did Community. I think he's an ENFP, and I think he has a good grasp on who ENTPs are. I just wanted to throw
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah.
Does this create failure to launch syndrome? Probably. I'm not sure what that exactly qualifies as, but I guess what you're saying is you do a lot of the double thinker term. I mean, I wouldn't. You're double knowers. You're not double thinkers. You do have TE as a fifth slot values and absolute value, but that means it's kind of like the your fifth slot. It's kind of like this very friendly ghost that comes around and goes around, and it just appears when sometimes it's there and you need it and it's great, and sometimes it's not. Hi, Ghost Rider.
Hey Dash, I like your icon. It's very ENFP.
That's true. How are you enjoying Cali?
Hey,
Ghost Rider.
I'm enjoying it very much. I love it here. There's no place I'd rather be.
I mean, a lot of people would have failure to launch syndrome. INFJs, ESTPs would have failure to launch syndrome for a different reason entirely than ENTPs or INFJs. ESTPs would because they can't stop prioritizing opportunism over follow through.
That's funny. I knew an ESTP super senior. Oh my gosh, I never really thought about it's so funny.
Hi, Octavia. So,
I definitely have, failure to launch. I mean, I'm 35 and I was living at home for a very long time. Just couldn't.
No, you're living with me who's living at home. I mean, look, LO Pros, the work that I have up there right now is a little dated. The bottom line is this. If you want to think about the thing properly, you start here. 4 fields: external metaphysical, internal metaphysical, external physical, internal physical. 4 modes of information movement: putting information, getting information, receiving information, interfacing. And there are 3 angles of observation: agency, subject, and object. And it's a combination of those 3 variables that create the cognitive function splay. And then if you want to add an additional layer of significant understanding, it would be understanding the way that when we talk about a given cognitive function, we're analyzing it either as an object of analysis or as a process analysis, depending on how we're analyzing it, or as we're affording correlates to it, like most people, a lot of people do that, or we're saying, we're talking a lot about it in terms of metaphor. When we say, well, SI wants this, that's very much a metaphorical expression. SI doesn't want anything. You are attending by it, introverted sensing, when you're paying attention to the way your body feels right now, for example, in real time. There are two kinds of time, turn-based and real time. Now, granted, and it should be remembered, no individual human being is ever in any moment but the present-ish. And so references to the past and the future occur in the present. And if you keep all those factors in mind, you'll be able to get it more or less right. Wouldn't introverts be a little more extroverted in chats or comments anyway? I don't think you can tell if someone is an introvert or extrovert based on how they interact in chats. Good point. I don't think it's definitive in general, which is why I go back to the thing like I affirm certain statements conditionally, pending further information or information to the contrary or other reasons to think to the contrary. I would conclude Cloud was a extrovert. I mean, the thing is, you have to remember that one always and only affirms or negates statements for purposes. So for the purpose of talking about Cloud, I affirm that he's an ESFP and not an ISFP. If you want to negate that affirmation, go ahead, but don't negate it just on the grounds of uncertainty, because I'm going to have to operate under one conclusion or another. So instead, say the conclusion that I'm affirming under is not as good as some other conclusion that's exclusive to it, or make some kind of argument like that. Don't just simply say, well, because you aren't 100% certain, you can't affirm anything about anybody. That's ridiculous. Smooth move, X-Lax.
Thanks. It's easier to articulate what I am saying in a chat, but I will give my opinions in real life too. That's good, Ghostwriter. What is your point for me being ESFP other than talking a lot? He's saying that you're extroverted because you talk a lot.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're pretty clearly TI polar, Cloud, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. And that means you're either ESFP or ENFP, and you're not ideational in the way that I would expect an ENFP to be, so ESFP's a logical conclusion to draw. You might not like that conclusion, you might not want that conclusion. Very biased and ignores all the arguments that aren't in my interest. No, not true. Absolutely not true. I consider all of the relevant data and draw the best possible conclusion. Why is that polar?
Because you're born that way? Is that,
Look, just because I am not a perfect typist, but Ethan McDonald, as you've shown on multiple occasions before, you're not thinking you're not thinking cleanly. You're motivated by a certain amount of strong interest to find me be wrong about something. I can smell it on you.
Mm-hmm. Tom Jickelson, what is your type?
Mm-hmm. BB's here. $750 later, she's been medically attended to and has a big wrap on her leg and has an e-collar and stuff. I don't want to spend the time to do that, Claude, frankly. I'm telling you what I affirm, and you don't have to agree with it if you don't want to. I'm not going to spend a lot of time affirming it because I've already gone over this plenty of times. It's not just my gut feeling. I've given you plenty of justifications. You don't listen to them. You don't care about them. And I'm not going to waste my time giving you time just enjoying watching me justify shit that I've already justified before and you've ignored before. So, no. You think you're INFP, Megan? Okay. Good for you. Congratulations. How's the dampness? Are you
Do you feel the feels?
yeah, are you in the midst of the moistest of dampest forests?
I feel like they're like pixies.
Cloud, you want my explanation. Cloud. So for example, if you were logical, if you were a TI party, you would say, you wouldn't say something like the fact that I even want your logical explanation proves I'm not TI polar. No, because whether or not you consider the explanation logical and whether or not you consider that significant in the consideration of the matter, that's how one would TI can parse this out. But you're not doing that at all, and you never do. So how it is. Well, Ethan McDonald, what I'm saying is, when you say, well, there's confirmation bias in Eric's typings, I do see confirmation for things, but as totally evidenced in the last video, right? The last typing I did, I was wrong about the bias. Look, he's finding things that confirm what he already thinks, and except you're right, I was confirming things I already thought. And when they confirmed, great. What happened when they didn't confirm? Did I let my bias influence me or not? So that's what I mean by your thinking is not clean. Just because I'm confirming or falsifying things doesn't mean I'm engaged in a bad process. It means I'm engaged in the right process. Yeah. The question is, how do I respond when I find stuff that doesn't confirm? Do I display a bias that makes me stick with that anyway, or do I change my position? And what I did was change my position. So that disproves what you're saying entirely. Okay? ISFPs get tired of talking quickly when by nature you will largely talk about any driven topics which ISFPs by nature will not be interested in. Okay, I mean, I agree that if I say ISFPs get tired of talking quickly, and I'm referring more to any or abstract topics, that's fair. That's a fair critique. That in fact, ISFPs may be able to have more long conversations about SE shit, and that because my experience is limited in talking to them with NE things, I misunderstand the extent to which they actually can be talkative about non-NE things. That's a totally legitimate thing to say, and way I'm just saying wrong or whatever, and I acknowledge it because it's correct. And when people make critiques that are not correct, I answer no, that's not correct, because I'm disinterested in my calculation. Okay, but see, this is the thing, Ethan McDonald. If I had a confirmation bias, I would be ignoring things that don't confirm, and that's not the case. That's not ever the case. Period.
Bye, ahoy.
Bye, ahoy. It's a Talbot.
Have a good day.
Now I'm going to wrap this up because I got a remote meeting in 20 minutes and I want to have a little break between. So thank you all for being here. I've got to meet with my client in 20 minutes and decide whether how much I'm going to do this English shit they want me to do with this shit. I don't really want to do it, but I might do some of it anyway. So thanks for being here, and don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.